Well, right now it is, let's see, very, very windy. We got like a down tree in our yard right now, and then we're actually on a tsunami watch. So looking out the window several times just to see if there's any changes in the weather right now, but I think we'll be okay.
Welcome back to the Voice for You podcast, where we empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Today, I'm joined by a young leader in our community. She is a dedicated advocate for youth empowerment, education, and suicide prevention. The founder of Keys to the Future, she has founded a nonprofit that has served over 30 rural Alaskan communities through 25 plus virtual and 10 in-person workshops, with the goal of equipping underserved youth with essential life skills after the age of 18. Her leadership has earned her a $2,000 grant for her continued nonprofit work and was also named a 2025 Spirit of Youth Award nominee. Her work has definitely not got unnoticed, as she was named a 2025 Coca-Cola Scholar. Leading her community of Anchorage, Alaska through education and youth empowerment, she is Miss Natalie Hodge-Hannula. How are you doing today, Natalie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well myself. Thank you for asking. This is the clouds at the moment. Usually at the beginning of my episodes, I always give like a weather update of how it looks outside. And mine, it's low key. It looks kind of gloomy, but it's also sunny outside too. Where I'm from, the weather can be bipolar a lot of the times. So definitely. I mean, obviously Alaska weather is 10 times different than anywhere else in the US. So how is the weather outside for y'all?
Well, right now it is, let's see, very, very windy. We got like a down tree in our yard right now, and then we're actually on a tsunami watch. So looking out the window several times just to see if there's any changes in the weather right now, but I think we'll be okay.
Hopefully, tsunamis aren't good for anybody or anything. And I don't think anyone wants to be caught in a tsunami, because I think there's a difference between a hurricane and a tsunami. I always forget, but
Yeah.
is there, do you know?
Well, tsunami is mostly where you have that pool of the water, the tide coming in, and then you can basically just think of like massive waves coming through. But hurricane is going to be different, where it's instead of just like waves coming at you, you have like a whole bunch of rain as well as lots of wind, where it's going to be ripping things like up from the ground from like the heavy windstorms. But tsunami is a whole nother ballgame for sure.
Yeah, any natural disaster is bad. So no one ever wants
Yeah.
to be caught in a natural disaster. And I'm hoping that y'all are not caught in one, especially because, that would be bad. That would be very bad. And I would not want to hope that for anybody. But,
Yeah.
definitely. But, before I get into the interview, tell me a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, your passions, and who you are as a person.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I truly believe that family is everything. I have a very small little family, and it's the family that I've been able to create myself rather than the one I was essentially born into. So, really just allowing me to kind of forge my own path in life in that regards. But I love spending time outside. Alaska is such a beautiful state, and I'm so grateful to have been born and raised here. It really gives you a whole nother perspective on what it means to appreciate nature and the beauty of this earth. And so I definitely love to get out as much as I can. I'm also a Harry Potter nerd, so I love reading all the stories back to back over and over again, as well as having my own little Lego collection. So I think I own about 25 of the Harry Potter Lego sets.
That's a
I have a
lot.
little like setup on all these bookshelves. It's always been a passion of mine to just create it. And I always like challenge myself to try and build them without looking at the instructions, which
Okay, that's
I usually end up looking at the end, but it's always fun in the beginning. And then I truly just love spending time with new people and trying to forge as many connections as I can with those that I meet. And so through my nonprofit work, I've been able to take my struggles as someone who was sort of forced to be thrown into an experience where I had to kind of learn everything on my own. I really just wanted to give youth that ability to have someone teaching them those skills that I didn't have someone teaching me. So I've been able to throw myself into that these past couple of years, and it's just been an amazing experience, truly. And definitely these past couple of months, I've kind of seen all my work come into fruition. So I was not expecting it at all, but I had an amazing college application cycle that really kind of showed me that my hard work was paying off, as well as just being able to be flown out to all these different places and scholarship trips, and being able to go to Washington, D.C. this past month because I was also an NHS scholarship
Yes.
finalist and
Yes.
a pillar winner. So I was able to go out to Washington, D.C. for that, and that was an amazing experience too. But yeah, I just love spending time with as many people as I can, which is truly just, I guess, me.
Definitely, definitely. Circling back to Harry Potter, what house are you?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
I mean, I read the first book a long time ago, but I think I might have to read the other books too. I've watched the movies, but I've never learned about what house I've had. But I know like the houses go super hard for like, especially like big Harry Potter people.
Hey, even if you're not like a Harry Potter person, just go take the Pottermore quiz,
Low key.
and it's very accurate. Every single time, like I thought maybe I'm not a Ravenclaw, and I've tried to like answer differently, but it always gave me Ravenclaw. So I know
Okay.
it's pretty accurate.
What is it called?
Pottermore.
Pottermore.
It's just like a little website that those who are like the Harry Potter fanatics can go on to find their like Patronus and things like that.
I am going to check that out as soon as possible because I've always wondered what mine is too. Because there's Ravenclaw, there's Slytherin, there's Hufflepuff, and then obviously the one Harry Potter's in, Gryffindor. I don't know why I've
Yep.
liked that, but yeah, definitely. And I do agree with what you said about family. You know, family plays a big role for anybody, especially, you know, having that herd around you 24/7. And obviously you are from Alaska, and I know Alaska, like the life and especially the nature there is like incredible. I've heard like there's sites that you
100%.
wouldn't exactly. There's sites that you wouldn't have seen like here in the mainland rather than Alaska. You probably have had multiple run-ins with moose.
But yeah, you see them all the time. They're kind of just wandering the streets, which I mean, people think that's weird, but it's just kind of normal here.
Exactly.
Like we ran into a black bear when we were walking down to the park the other day, and right now you're mostly gonna see all like the calves out with their moms. So of course you're gonna have males out, but those are actually the most dangerous. So you want to just watch it because the males are kind of like they just mind their business. They do whatever they want. The mamas, they have a temper. So yeah, you just got to watch out for them. And just like we get trained in elementary school on what to do. So like if it's a moose, we used to like sing a song where it's like play hide and seek with the moose, go round and round and round. And it's basically just saying that you're not going to outrun it. Get behind something and just get it dizzy by going around. I've had to do that a couple times before, but yeah, you just play ring around the rosy with the moose, and then eventually they get tired and leave you alone. So there's just like these little things you learn.
Have you seen any polar bear in the wild? Or
I've seen one in the zoo. They're gonna be like up near the Arctic Circle,
Yeah.
and they are in Alaska. They're just not exactly where humans are. So like right at the top, Alaska, they're like up here, and then these are like the main city areas that you'd be in. So
Obviously, black bears are very fond of humans. I know, especially I'm in Tennessee, right? I live on the west side of Tennessee, east side Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Black bears is basically their whole culture over there. Like black bears go hard. And I know black bears, brown bears, and polar bears, even though they're up north, I'm assuming they all are in that area of
yeah.
Alaska. Obviously, there's more bears. Like I know the spirit bear is in Alaska too. I've heard of them. I've always because they seem like super cool too. I remember watching an episode on them when I was like younger. But and then there's Kodiaks. So I'm a big animal guy. I was a big animal guy growing up. So I've always wanted to go to Alaska and see all that. And obviously like moose and all that is just normal for you. Whereas for like someone me, I just see them in like the zoo and stuff. So you know,
Yeah.
definitely. But you know, before I go on, you know, more in depth with what you've done, I like to start my interviews, you know, more lighthearted to get the ball like rolling, you know, just to keep that lightheartedness. So
Yeah.
if you could say, if you lost your memory and you were like any book or movie that you forgot, except for Harry Potter, because obviously I know you're a big Harry Potter person. But if you could like rewatch any movie or reread any book for the first time other than Harry Potter, what would it be and why?
Ooh, probably say The Golden Compass. It's I read it when I was in like 4th grade for the first time, and we had this thing in our library where it was divided into 2 sections. So you had like the kiddie section where it's like the Magic Tree House and things like that, those type of books that you can read. And then you have the older section where you're going to get into the longer chapter books. They allowed me to start going into that library, the second section, when I was in 4th grade, when usually you go into the older section when you're in like 5th grade. And so they allowed me to go in there, and so I felt so special. And it was the first book series that I grabbed over there. And I just remember like I cried during that book series. I felt every emotion and like pull, and it really like made me realize that like books can be our kind of like our vision to someone else's mind.
Exactly.
And get to see into what it is that makes them excited about the world. And so reading that series, it definitely like it was a core memory in my childhood, and you can't get that memory back. Like you can like remember it, but you don't get to feel it again the same way. So that would have been nice if I can go back and read it. So
How many books are in the series?
it's by Philip Pullman. I think it's a 3-book series, if I'm correct. He might have written a trio or like something after it, but it's like 3 main books. It's I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it was on like HBO for a while. His Dark Materials. That's the series it's based off of.
Yes, I've seen the polar bear before. I think
Yes, that's the one.
I've seen the polar bear with Daniel.
And the movie was actually made the year I was born, so
Sure.
that's why it's like it's like even more of a connection to me.
2007. Oh, well, yeah, same thing with me then, I guess, because I was born 2007 too, so I guess there's a connection there too. Woohoo! I've seen the I think I've seen the bear before. I might have maybe seen it. The book is like ringing, like the idea of the books.
Yeah.
As a kid, books are pretty much life. You read
Mm-hmm.
books and you just go like Magic Tree House. I was a big Magic Tree House guy growing up. I read all of those, and we have this thing called like the AR program, Accelerated Reader Program, where like it gives you like you search up a book, right, and it gives you like the grade level which it's in. So like say if it's like a 5.9, then that means it's a book for 5th graders to 5th grade, like that. It was like that. So maybe I have, but obviously books and movies, that channels the inner creativity for any child and anyone through any age at any time.
Yeah.
Before I move on, first off, congratulations on graduating high school. It is
Thank you.
it is a big achievement for anybody to, graduate high school. So obviously I'm going to take a wild shot in the dark, based off your sweater, and say that you have committed to the University of Pennsylvania. Definitely. So what about UPenn, made you want to first apply there and then at the very end commit as well?
Well, to be honest, this was the one school that I knew that I was going to get into. I got the likely letter. And so I was like, oh, well, that's really like a good feeling to know, like I have one school that, I might be getting into. But I had what they call imposter syndrome throughout the whole application cycle. I did all my applications and I was like, there's no way I'm getting into anywhere. I was like, it's my application's not good enough. Like my scores aren't good enough. And I think everyone who sort of like that I met even at like the Coca-Cola Scholarship weekend, we all had that same feeling that, oh, we're not good enough. Even though like we try and do as much as we can. And so just having that one school that like kind of just personalized it, like even in their acceptance letter, they were mentioning things like in my application and talking about how this, like they can see this exact thing that I was talking about be translated to life on campus. And that really just made me feel like there was a place that wanted me and that there was a place I could call home. And it wasn't even my dream school. In all honesty, it's an amazing school and now it's my dream school. But I got into Columbia And that was my number one dream school. And it's been my dream for over a year now. I've always dreamed of, I come from a small town, small town, big city dreams, just going away to the big NYC. And I got in there and they flew me out for free to go see everything. And I couldn't feel that sort of pull in my heart that said I'm home. And it's not to say that it's not a great school, because it is. And I absolutely love the campus. It's gorgeous. But there was just something in me that telling me this isn't where I was meant to be yet. And so I have decided that I'm going to do, of course, my 4 years at Penn, because I got into School of Nursing. And then I'm going to transfer over there for 3 years to do my DNP, which is Doctors of Nursing Practice. So I will be going back to Columbia eventually, but just not quite yet. And when I went to Penn's campus, it was right after I got done with my Washington trip for my NHS scholarship trip. And I drove up there. The campus wasn't even open. Like, it was just like nighttime. We just tried to go see it a little bit before we drove up there. And I just felt like so excited to be there. And I couldn't really explain it because, I've been to like 20 other schools now, like going to all these, like them flying me out to try and go see their schools. And it was just this one experience where I didn't even have a guide, where I just felt like so excited for life and to be there. And we actually were just walking around the campus on Lucas Walk, and we ran into a dance battle with the Asian student union, and they were having just a little barbecue, and they were just out there dancing, and all these students slowly started congregating, and I can see what life was like there. And that I just recorded it, and then I turned to my dad and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And yeah, it's the oldest university in the United States, and just the history there. So that that really got me feeling like this was home. And I wanted to go into a direct path for the medical field, and at Columbia you don't really have that. I got into the engineering school, and I could just see that it was going to be a long 4 years of just kind of grueling over these basic classes, where I would then have another set of schooling ahead of me, even longer than Penn, to get into the exact field I wanted. But I'm starting clinicals next year, so this is going to be exactly what I want. And I'll be a doctor after 7 years versus 12.
Oh,
That's a great exchange for me, for sure.
I mean, cutting 5 years off, I don't think anyone, everyone will miss school eventually, but I don't think I would. Having it set 7 instead of 12 is definitely a steep.
Mm-hmm.
And like you did say, Penn is an Ivy League, so it's still as good as Columbia, Harvard, Yale. And that's actually my dream school is Duke University, but right behind it is Penn, because I want to go into public health with a minor in, on the business path. It's either that or an IE in business. And UPenn Wharton in the UPenn engineering program is arguably the best in the nation. UPenn Wharton is the best in the nation. So
It is, yeah.
yeah,
And the nursing school is actually the number one,
exactly.
as well. So
Exactly.
great exchange there.
And plus, you got a likely letter too. That means they want you there. They're letting you personally know that they want you, rather than it's oh, you got accepted. But it's a likely letter, meaning that they're willing to put in all the money and all the effort for you to get there, because they see you're passionate and all that too. So
I know, my stepdad, he told me that I was crazy when I was looking at all the schools, because for a second, it's always been my dream to go to an Ivy, but I just didn't think it was possible. And I ended up getting into almost every one of them, which was pretty cool. I was on the wait list for Princeton, and then I got off. Actually, right when I got off the wait list, I did end up just rejecting, because I didn't I didn't have that feeling. We toured the school, and it just wasn't the feeling that I was looking for. But I think really, if anyone's just trying to figure out where they want to go, even if it's your dream school, you don't know until not only you're there, and then also when you've had your other decisions, to know okay, what was it that was making it my dream school, and where exactly do I want to be in life? I even thought for a second I might choose Duke. They flew me out there, I think, what was it? the beginning of this month, and it was really cool because I got to go to like the Admitted Students Day and like see everything, and they have a great med like a med program. But a lot of these schools too I was seeing was that the med schools that they had there that were great, it doesn't come till after your 4 years. And for some people who are just like eager to like jump in, like it's really good to find those kind of direct trajectories into it versus just having to like get your degree and then go into it. But Duke is an amazing school, and I really hope you get in because it's a great experience there. They have an amazing dining hall too, I will
Yes,
say.
that's what I don't know. Duke's just like super duper fancy. It's been my dream school since I was like 5th or 6th grade. I don't even
Aw.
know why. I've like a whole story behind that, but it's been a dream school of mine. Obviously, like you said, I just still tour and everything. I am a rising senior myself, and I haven't toured a single college campus except the University of Memphis. So, 100%. Did you apply for Brown? I know Brown in their medical program, there's like super duper strong too.
Yeah, Brown is actually the one Ivy I didn't apply for. And it's the one I didn't get into because I didn't apply. I don't know. I applied to several schools, and it was just because, like I was saying in the beginning, I had imposter syndrome and I didn't think I'd get in anywhere. And so I just wanted to have as many options as I could. But yeah, I was like reading their application on the Common App. Just like the questions were really weird. They just had like a very interesting way of like wording everything.
They have a
And it was
yeah.
like I was done with all the other schools, and I was just like, I'm tired. I'm done. So
I know Brown has a different approach to the way people apply and stuff. I know that there's like that Brown video portfolio. It's just more different from the other Ivies, but obviously you got into the rest of them. So one not applying to one's not gonna hurt anybody when you got into the other 6 or 7. I always forget how many there are, but definitely. And obviously to get into all these Ivies, to be committed to UPenn nursing, like you said, #1 nursing program in the US, you have to have some crazy extracurriculars, which you do in fact have, such as you are the founder of Keys to the Future, a nonprofit that has worked with over 30 rural Alaskan communities. So where did you get the inspiration to start this nonprofit and start this work?
yeah, so I I think I was 13, and I started getting involved with the Alaska Children's Trust, which is the only children's trust we have here in Alaska, and it's completely nonprofit in the way that we don't actually have a governmental agency providing any of the necessities for youth within Alaska, which is kind of crazy because we have a very strong youth population as well as a very strong Native Alaskan population. And when we're looking at these different ethnic groups within the state, there's so many resources that are lacking. And for me, being involved with the Alaska Children's Trust, I did a summer internship as well as getting involved with their various partners where they're donating these grants. And through them, I actually found an organization which is called YAHA, which is Youth Alliance for a Healthier Alaska. And I joined their program, which is kind of like a youth advisory board for the state. And we're able to sort of pinpoint what exactly the youth within our state need, where we're falling short, and how are we going to make that a difference, and how are we going to use those funding adequately in order to provide those resources for the youth. And so through them, I started advocating for Native Alaskan resources to be dispersed. I saw that we have a lack of teen life skills education, which essentially is meaning that financial literacy, as well as being aware of what different work groups are available for these genres of youth, weren't being shown to them. They were sort of just being thrown into it. And we have a very strong kind of, I guess, statistics where you have these youth going into various things such as addiction, as well as homelessness and things of that nature after the age of 18, because we're not providing them the resources when we're taking away all of the things that made their culture them. So through that, I got involved with Lead on Alaska. And Lead on Alaska is essentially a youth conference where we basically fly all these different youth within the state up to Anchorage, which is kind of like the base for everything. And then we provide them a 3-day all paid conference to get free housing at a hotel, free food, all that. And then we have counselors, various stakeholders within Alaska all coming up. And we're basically just doing a 3-day, I guess, just empowerment. And you have different workshops. We're going to teach them financial literacy. You're going to be teaching them what it means to truly connect with your emotional self, what it means to connect with your culture, what it means to be Native Alaskan, and how do you translate that into sort of a Western-centric point of view. And so that is where I actually hosted my first in-person workshop for Keys to the Future, where the whole program is based upon these 5 keys that you need to succeed after 18. And by unlocking these keys, you're unlocking your future. And that was the whole kind of like mantra around the whole Keys to the Future ideal. And from there, that was in 2022 that I did that first one. I got several grants through that conference. And then it sort of just took off from there. And I started hosting workshops online for all of these students so that they can continue to be getting these resources. And that lasted up until my summer this year, where I'm probably going to be taking a step back just because I'm not going to be in Alaska anymore. And I won't be able to have those sort of online workshops. And I tried to always bring on partners and bring on those who I can have a staff to kind of take it over. And it just never went that way. I always felt like I had to do it all. And so I became the sole person being involved in my nonprofit. And I hosted, the number has actually risen from the 10 plus. So it's 35 rural communities now, which is almost half of the Native Alaskan communities we have, which was really a great experience to be able to connect and learn what it means to truly be an Alaskan, and not just from what people may say is just a Western view. And so that was a really amazing experience. But like I said, I'll be taking a step back from that, focusing on my college career, and hopefully coming back and taking this nonprofit into something that can be translated into possibly something like the Alaska Children's Trust, which started my journey.
Definitely. You know, coming back to the keys of the future and your whole goal, if possible, could you summarize what those 5 keys are? I'm looking kind of curious now.
Yeah. So one is financial literacy. Another one is emotional well-being. You have culture connection. And then another one is, we just have it as the workforce kind of key, basically just understanding that there isn't just college after 18. You can be going into trade school. You can be going into various partnerships on the slope, which is basically a labor force where you're working to do mining and things of that nature for Alaska. And it's just something that you don't really hear of in other places, but it's very common for Alaskan Natives as well as those in Alaska to go and work on the slope. And then the last one just truly being the community connection. So understanding what different resources are available within your community and how exactly are you taking the community aspect of a Native Alaskan culture and trying to translate that into building each other up and truly having those positive childhood experiences rather than any of the negatives where you're trying to buffer those negative childhood experiences, which are ACEs, if you've ever heard of them, the adverse childhood experiences.
Yeah, obviously those are all super important stuff that you need to know going, not even just in Alaska, but just in general, and for anybody anywhere, those are key points that you would need to know. And obviously, like you did just mention, you have started now work with over 35 rural communities all throughout Alaska. So how, obviously you started Keys to the Future with the LOA conference. So how were you able to reach out to all of these different rural, because I know Alaska it is the biggest state in all of the US. So how are you able to contact all of them and get them into one conference in Anchorage?
Yeah, so through the Alaska Children's Trust, I had the list of all the different partners where we're providing these grants to, and it was mainly through those counselors. So those different programs, you have STAR Alaska, which is Standing Together Against Rape. There's those programs that you're able to then contact the counselors within the schools, within those districts, because they all have their separate school districts, and you're able to get those counselors' information. And then they slowly start to give you a list of students that, of course, there's consent forms and waivers of that nature, but you're able to go through them as well as the different borough communities. So we're able to go through their elders and the groups that they have there And then through them, they give me contacts of different youth, as well as teachers in that area that might be interested in the program. So it was, of course, just my name, contact, and then the different workshops that I've been a part of. I also give them an example of the slideshows that I'd be presenting to their youth. And they're able to either deny that, say, hey, we're not interested. And then, of course, through a lot of them, they were interested. And it was more so just getting those parentals' permission. And then once we got that, it was sort of just taking over where it's mostly the youth that are logging on. And some of them would have parents there, and that was okay. And I would try and just like realize that the youth are probably there getting that adult support in case there was any triggers emotionally or anything of that nature. But like I said, it was mostly through school counselors and then just some amazing community partners that were just providing my information at community rec centers and things like that.
Did you ever have a problem with, obviously, a lot of adults nowadays, they don't put too much trust in, children, like high schoolers, due to they look at the age and they think they're not as experienced. Did you ever have any problems like that while you were trying to set all this up?
Surprisingly not. There was, of course, a couple adults that were just very questionable of it. They wanted to know who I was, that I wasn't just some random youth just trying to gain money or anything like that, to just try and feed information to youth, especially coming as a person who is not Native Alaskan. I'm Asian as well as white, and so that's definitely not exact person they would think to be teaching someone about Native Alaskan culture. So I truly had to take the humility in knowing that I'm a stranger to the culture and I'm not someone who fully understands it, and someone who's not Native Alaskan, I won't truly ever fully understand it. But I worked closely with the Alaska Native Heritage Museum and Center, and it basically was just, I was able to sit there I tried to go almost every Friday, and I'd meet with the elder Nanakchi, and we basically just discussed what it means to come of age from various cultures within Alaska, the Alaska Native culture, because you have over 35, no, probably way more than that, over 40 Alaska Native exactly cultures. And so you have these different districts that are centered off within Alaska, South Central, Southeast, and these different areas. You're going to be having these different ethnic groups. So for example, Anchorage, we're on the land of the Dena'ina people. And then we do land acknowledgements to sort of recognize that. And then other districts have their land acknowledgements too for those groups. And so I focused in on the Dena'ina culture as well as the Athabascan. And so she just truly explained to me, when you have a girl, when you're coming of age in the 18 from the truly cultural base, you're going to be having different things such as basket weaving. So they'll be going over the different details that you're able to put into the weaving. And truly by showing that you're able to build a basket that's going to hold and not spill different goods for your community, that shows that you've come of age as a female. And then for male, there's different experiences where you go out for 5 days into the wild and you're trying to show that you can completely provide for yourself of subsistence eating, subsistence living. You're just given one tool. And that shows that you're able to provide to your culture as a male, to the entire culture and community. And so there's different things like that I would just sit there and learn, and just truly gave me that different point of view. And again, allowed me the humility to understand that I'm truly just trying to come from a place of, I guess, trying to understand and trying to be open. And that I think showing them that I was taking those steps to understand the culture in that way, I think it gave them a little bit more reassurance that I wasn't trying to do it for any negative gain, or, it wasn't coming from ill intention. And I think that helped.
If you give off ill intention vibes, then no one's going to take a shot. And obviously with everyone that has, taken a shot with you with East Future in the conference, obviously they did not get any ill intentions. And like you did mention, Alaska has different cultures, different communities just in the state itself, and you are bringing all of these different cultures into one. So how would you describe that conference in general, like your time during that conference? Did you have any specific events that happened throughout the conference that you would like to speak on, that gave you a sense of, okay, this is what I want to do in my future, or maybe I want to take a step back and maybe do something else or something like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest message I even gained from these conferences and these experiences is that people want youth to succeed and they want to see them grow and make a difference. And they're always there to support and try and see you become something to change the world. And so through those experiences, it truly just opened my mind to knowing that there was these adults that care so much about our youth. And even though Alaska is so big and there's so like many different things here, there's a great community of support just waiting for if you reach out. And so I think one of the best experiences I had there was this last year. And there's, of course, the nitty gritty where you got to be doing the workshops and always learning, always trying to gain new information. But then there's the fun too. And so we had a team building exercise at the Anchorage Museum. And I was able to do all the icebreakers for the group. And we had about 500 plus youth there and adults and all that nature. And so I was able to just hold the mic, have all the icebreakers, and even if some of the kids didn't speak English or if we were at that sort of language blockade, we were able to laugh and just realize that we're all the same, even if like we speak a different language, even if we have a different culture, if we dress different. And that truly just like coming together as just youth in Alaska, it shows you how easy it is to connect with people that maybe you just don't understand yet. And from the first day, because I was on the first day of the team building exercises to on the last day we did a talent show. And it was really funny because I completely had to scrap my idea because my entire group, we were going to do like this little dance off, and it fell through because some of them were getting sick, some of them were scared and didn't want to do it. And so I had to throw together a magic act last minute. I did it in 10 minutes coming up with the idea. And it was so funny because everyone said it was the best act. And so it was just like the things that you do last minute. And sometimes when you just like take a chance on life, they kind of become the best things you'll ever do. And so that was just my little message that I learned there. But yeah, that same magic act that I did, it was all about how I saw this TED Talk one time, and it was basically where this person has like this puzzle, and it's like these little pieces that all fit together, and he brings up like one random piece and he's like, can you fit this into your life? And they're like, oh no, you can't. Everything's like already set in stone. And then they're like, well, and then he like moves it around and then he fits it in. And then the whole idea was this was the act of wondering and joy. And sometimes if you just change your perspective, move things around and focus on what truly matters, you'll see everything can fall into place. And that was like the message at the end. That was the final magic act. And I ended up doing that for my senior statement and leaving my home high school, Robert Service High. And so I was able just to take that into fruition, something I thought about for years after, because I did that a couple years ago, you know, bringing it in to my last day at high school. It was really meaningful to me. So yeah, there's always just those little life lessons.
Yes, always that. I feel like I have seen that TED Talk before, maybe on like what's going through. It is a popular one, and I mean, it is right. Any emotion, you know, you can fit anything into your life if you just make the space for it, like the TED did mention. And obviously, you know, you have played that into your life too. And I mean, I bet you that magic act would have been better than the dance act anyways. So I mean, do you know what song you were supposed to be dancing to? Do you remember?
The song we were dancing to? It was gonna be the, you know, like the Whoopa Gundam style. That one. We were gonna do that one, and it was gonna start off with the Dirty Dancing like song where it's like, I've had the time of my life, and we were all gonna like slowly like go up to our different like dance partners and pretend we were gonna do like a dance like that, and the whole thing was gonna be 10 seconds of that, and everyone would be like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? And then it was gonna be like the music drops, and then we all like take out sunglasses and then start doing the Whoopa Gundam style. Yeah, it's okay. We practiced hard for that, and then it just like was falling through, so it's okay.
Nerves get the best of people. I personally like, everyone needs to have some sort of confidence in their life, you know, whether it's on stage, talking to people, getting new people, because at the end of the day, it's not the people that make the decisions for you. It's you're the only person that makes the decision for yourself. So you should be comfortable to do whatever you desire to do. That's my personal opinion, though. Everyone has their, you know, fair share of opinions, but that's just how I see it. But I bet you 100% the Magic Act, brought a lot more. That would have blown my mind. Magic's super cool. Let's just say that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But, along with all of this, with this work, you were nominated as a 2025 Spirit of Youth Award nominee, as well as earning a $2,000 grant for your work. What was this vibe like when you were awarded this and nominated for the Spirit of Youth Award? And how did these push you to help serve your community more and, push you to be a better person and give you that?
Yeah, so through everything that I've sort of done with my nonprofit and my different liaison work throughout the state, it's always been me actively seeking it and going out and searching for the grant money, searching for the different things that I can get involved with, searching for the people who'd want to take part in the workshops. And the grant was actually the first time that it was brought to me and I didn't search it out. And so that was a really cool experience, knowing that my name was out there and that people were seeing the work I was doing and wanted to sort of be a part of that as well. And so it was through the Spirit of Youth Awards, and they do that through the Alaska Airlines sort of center and through, of course, the airline, just the regular airline. And I actually couldn't even go to the award ceremony because I was in Georgia at the time for the Coca-Cola Scholars weekend. And so I was really upset about that, but I got to zoom in and see when they did my name across the whole slideshow and everything. And since getting that money, I've been able to not only provide, I think we did 3 in-person workshops where everything was free. Of course, there's no charge. I've never charged for anything. And I was able to actually provide food for the youth and during that time. And so I was able to get 50 participants to those 3 each versus my usual, I get maybe 10. So I really got to have a community during those 3 workshops. And it was really cool because you could see all the youth come together and they were excited to be taking part because, to be honest, food gets everyone excited when you have youth together.
100%.
Yeah, so I just think if we do these, I had a chat with our Senator Murkowski when we were in Washington, and I kind of discussed that with her, that when you just invest in these little things where you're creating these communities and these positive childhood experiences within youth's life, you're going to see them sort of combat those ACEs occurring in their life, and you're really able to enforce that empowerment that you so desperately want to create for the youth. And that's what's going to form these new generations of leaders that are going to want to continue on with sort of making a difference and becoming more than their experiences. I truly think that that's where the money should be invested, is in those little experiences, for sure.
The little experiences is what builds up to the big experience and the passion and all that too. I feel and anybody, when they're starting off with something, no one starts off go big or go home. They say do go big or go home, but I don't really think you should start that big, especially if you're trying to explore new stuff.
Yeah.
Take me in business. I just started off as a member of, do you know what FBLA is?
Yes.
I started off as a mere member in my school's FBLA, and you just climb up the ranks, and now I serve on the state board for Tennessee's FBLA. So, it's always those little steps that bring the passion out for anybody. And now now I explored through those little steps, now I plan on, going into some sort of, I plan on having business somewhere when I go to college. And obviously you have your own, ways, the building up to the conference, the LOA conference, and Keys to the Future and all that too. Just small steps for anybody will bring anywhere for anybody, definitely. But along with all of this, you were, like you did mention earlier, you were named a NHS national finalist, along with being a Coca-Cola finalist. But specifically on the NHS national finalist, you did go to Washington. So how was this, was it a similar process to Coke, would you say?
Yeah, so it was more tight-knit. So Coca-Cola, of course, you have 125 of the top high school students in the nation, and then NHS is 25. So they choose 25 individuals who are within, of course, NHS throughout the nation. And this year we had think it was 100,000 students apply for that one. And then out of the 100,000, they choose 25. And during your application, they actually select pillar winners, which is 5 winners out of those 25. And they receive an extra $10,000 on top of their 20,000. So I was able to get 35,000 from that scholarship. And then the overall pillar winner, who they say encompasses all 5 things, scholarship, like dignity, honor, all that stuff, they give them the $25,000 on top. So our overall pillar winner was Pratika, I think that was her name. Sorry, there were so many names that I had to learn these past couple months, but she's truly an amazing individual, and I was able to kind of connect personally with her when we were there, and I was able to meet, of course, all the pillar winners, and I think you've spoken to a couple of them on your podcast before, but Maritis?
Yes, Moritz, yes.
Moritz, sorry, yeah, I can never say his name correctly, but he was a pillar winner too, and he's actually also a Coca-Cola Scholar. So there was actually several of us there from NHS that were also Coca-Cola Scholars, and so it was really cool to see them there. But it's the same thing with the Coca-Cola Scholars weekend. So you come in, there's the award ceremony, there's a banquet, they have that broadcasted nationally, and then on the very last night, you get awarded who they had selected the pillars. And you don't really, of course, you don't know who's going to win. And there's also a whole bunch of workshops and worked in between there, little trips and outings and scavenger hunts. It's fun too. And then on that last banquet night, they brought in some famous speakers that were able to kind of give us some send-offs, some words of advice, and then they announced the pillars by slowly reading off like your little blurb. And so you're like, wait, that sounds like me. And then they got to the Keys to the Future, and I looked up and I'm like, hey, that's my nonprofit. And so you don't know. And so we all have our phones out recording, and then it's slowly revealed through your little blurb who the pillar winner is. And so, yeah, I definitely cried going up on stage because I had my counselor there with me, and his name was Daniel Ruffner, and he was a great guy. He provided support to me financially and emotionally when I was going through some really tough times. And I kind of went from his words, like he just wanted to get me to graduate in the beginning, to then he's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you did this. But I was having it pretty rough in my sophomore to junior year for family issues, and then he sort of took me under his wing, and he said, this can be your home, school can be your home and your escape. And I truly took that to heart, and I threw myself into school. And so for him, seeing everywhere we had come from to where we were now, both being paid to be in Washington, receiving a $35,000 scholarship, he was my lifeline through high school for sure. And so I was really honored to have that experience with him. But it was a great weekend for sure. And I got to meet my senator too. She invited me over to her office, and she took me to the Library of Congress, and I got to see all this stuff and get a personal pass tour. So it was real.
That's neat. Obviously, later on towards the very end, I will be asking more about the Coca-Cola, process and all that too. But that's crazy. I know obviously there's going to be overlap for any scholarship. I mean, with Coca-Cola, because checking top 150, everyone's going to be hearing about the same little stuff, and obviously that overlap is going to happen too. And obviously you've done so much for your community to the point where you do deserve, everything that has happened for you, going on to doing great stuff afterwards, especially at an Ivy League like the University of Pennsylvania for sure. But you also serve as president. Not only are you a National Honor Society national finalist, but you serve as your school's president for not only National Honor Society, NHS, but also the YANA, or You Are Not Alone chapter. So what is YANA per se, and how did you become involved with it to the point where you became the president of the chapter?
Yeah, so YANA is You Are Not Alone, and it's a chapter of suicide prevention and awareness. It's a national program, but you form the chapters within your schools. And so my older sister, she graduated from Service High, and she she was actually the president of the chapter when she was there, and she started it at Service High School. And it was very small when she had started it, and so after she graduated, it sort of went away. And I think it was my sophomore year, end of sophomore year, I believe. I wanted to get it started back at the school, and it was so crazy because I had been thinking about it all of that year that I really want to bring this back, and I think it's really necessary for our school right now. We had just lost a student that year to suicide, and so we really wanted. I've been thinking about it, and I think everyone was too. And a group of individuals had shown up at the assembly in like October, and they were saying that they wanted to bring back YANA. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this for months now. And so they were the ones to initially get it started back at the school. And then I joined them and we grew it from there. And so it started from us four, a very small group of four individuals. And then we decided we were going to take it even bigger. And by the end of my senior year, we had about 55 kids involved. So we definitely tried as hard as we could to bring that chapter to life. And we now have an official president and VP for next year. So I made sure that before I left that we had that set up so it wouldn't go away this time. And I was able to build a self-help and empowerment chalk wall. We did food drives. We did suicide walks that involved the whole community of Anchorage. And we really were just trying to focus on what positive experience can we create and what happy memories can we create for youth at our school that we're going to allow them to see that there was a community out there and that there's so much stuff out there willing to give them help and give them some sort of lights in their life if they just reach out. And we would always we built like a whole bunch of like little like bracelets that had like the suicide helpline and it said you are not alone. And we would always see kids around service walking around with them on. We would like tell them, if you take a bracelet, we'll give you a piece of candy, like just like little stuff that they'll be like, oh, sick, like I'll wear one. So we were able to do that. And it got I felt like I was seeing almost every kid in that hallway wearing a bracelet. And even if it's like a little reminder, like it really does matter when you have those things everywhere, because you never know like what sort of kid might be walking down the hall and then they look up and they see that. And then if they just see a friendly smile, like it can really change their perspective on the day. So we really wanted to focus on that. And Service High School is actually the #1 school for inclusivity. And that's simply because we have a partners club, which is a school within the school that focuses on providing resources for special needs students. And so we have several teachers as well as a class within service where basically you're able to go and help out Partners Club, be like a student teacher. And it's just teaching life skills and little stuff like that to special needs students with maybe Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, things of that nature there. It definitely makes the students a lot more understanding and I think kind when you have those sort of experiences at the school.
That just empowers and embodies the life that anyone wants to live. I know everyone has their rough days, and just seeing that light smile from just anybody, it doesn't even have to be someone that just makes anyone's day. And like you said, you at the very beginning, you did mention that you have you take very big pride in your family and that you have created in your herd. And I feel like everybody needs that at some point in their life. You can't go on by yourself. You need those people to help you, supporting 24/7. And I do 100% agree with what Yana has to say, because suicide is not something of a light talking matter, and suicide prevention is very, very needed throughout society. Especially in today's day and age. So 100%. But you served as president for both YANA and NHS. So how do you believe it has changed your outlook on leadership and, just what you want to do in the future, per se?
I think it truly taught me that being a leader is someone who listens to everyone. You're not the one to jump in right away with what we're going to do or how we're going to do it. You're sitting there, you're letting everyone speak their mind, and through that, trying to feel out how you can take all those different opinions, all those different ideas, and form them into a unified decision that's going to actually make everyone feel heard. And so I my experience as NHS and YANA presidents to see what was a way I could bridge those two very necessary things between being a leader in education and being a leader in social awareness issues, and how can we make that one. And so I did a lot of joint activities between NHS and YANA, trying to bring them together. And one of those experiences was we did a Covenant House Drive, which is the teen homeless shelter here in Alaska. And we decided we were going to provide a Christmas for the students there. And we were able to take those different students from YANA who maybe would never have talked with anyone who was a part of NHS before, and show them that they all wanted the same thing, just in a different way, I'd say. And so you have those students that maybe are like in NHS, the popular kids. They're going to be in sort of the cliquey groups, things like that. I'm sure you get my drift, just like those popular type groups, and taking them to sort of do a group with the theater kids, which I'm a theater kid. I was also an NHS kid, so very multi-diversified in those sort of things. And we took those kids who maybe their sort of thing of fun was watching anime, or maybe they were artsy kids, and trying to take them to this group and forcing them to do something that was for a community that was other than our school. And I think that truly allowed them to see that they had similar interests, and maybe people who you wouldn't have spoken with before are actually pretty cool to talk to. And that can build up leaders in a way that allows them to see that every voice is important, and that every opinion can actually have some true value in your life too.
That's so true. I mean, it's obviously when you're forced, obviously there's going to be cliques, especially in high school. Those are very, very adamant, and especially a high schooler's mind. And you see these, and obviously putting them into uncomfortable situations like that forces you to make friends. And like you said, good situations can come from that. But circling back to what you said you were a theater kid. What is your favorite play that you've ever acted in?
Ooh, okay, let's see. I did musicals as well as regular productions as well, and I was the lead in my last two, well, actually my last three. And I did The Sound of Music. I also did Ranked, which is a new one this year, and then I did The Hogfather. And I would say my favorite one was probably the last one I did, Ranked. I was the lead Sydney Summers, which is kind of like a Regina George character, but with academics. And so she's the number one of her school, like for rank, and she's like a mean girl who has like all these parental expectations on her, and she's a mean girl because she just feels like she has to be perfect all the time. And it was cool because in a way I connected a lot with this character, and then in another way I'm not a Regina George. I'm not a mean girl, at least I try not to be. And so they're like, this is like a twisted version of you. And they said I did it really, really well, my friends that were in theater. And so they said it was like really cool to see that side of me, where I got to like fully take on this character and just like see like what like a mean Natalie looks like, I guess. And they said that was funny, but they were also able to see that I put a lot of emotional depth into the character. And at the end, she has her redemption, kind of like with Regina George at the redemption of all those movies, Mean Girls. And so she's able to show them that I've tried. One of the lines I remember is that I've tried so hard to be perfect. And it was always me that had to be the one to be strong, always me that had to be the one to protect you. No one ever protected me. And she got to like cry, and her twin brother, like this was a conversation between them. And so you're able to see that it's time, like her line, she sings like, it's time to finally breathe. And so everyone was like, wow, like that's really true, because she's been fighting her entire life, and now it's time to just take a step back and realize that you've come as far as you hoped, and now like it's okay to like breathe and then go on again.
That is very, very deep. No, that it definitely, obviously there's gonna be people like that. That's how any good story is built. That's how you build a good character arc, in my opinion. I know Sounds of Music is a classic. There's one song, I forgot what it's called. Is it like How Far I'll Go? I don't know. I don't think that was Sounds of Music.
I think that's from Moana, that one.
Yeah,
How Far I'll Go.
I think so. Yeah, just don't mind that. It does have some classic tunes. Maybe if I play it once, I'll remember the name. But definitely. I've always wanted to try theater. I feel like I'd be decent at theater, but I never got the chance to. Maybe just as a senior year, just as a joke, maybe just like try it, and because you never know when you're interested in something until you really try it.
Sure. It's an amazing program, like regardless of whatever you choose, like just try all the new things, because I didn't think I'd ever like it, and it became my favorite thing in high school in terms of kind of like friendship building.
Okay, because I have done everything to help with theater. Like I sing. I'm an amateur singer. I sing on the side. I'm not the best of dancers, but I can. If I really try, I think I can.
You do great.
Maybe, who knows? But definitely, like I said, you don't know if you really like it. Another thing that you have done is you were a article writer for YAHA with the Alaska Department of Public Health. So what were some articles that you did publish with YAHA and the Department of Public?
Yeah, so mostly the articles that I wrote were for the different stakeholders. And so it was sort of like a review of the different work that we were doing within YAHA, which is that Youth Alliance for a Healthier Alaska group I was talking about. Through them, basically, I took all of the work we were doing throughout the months, and I put together a grant review of where our money was being dispersed. And then I was able to give that newsletter every month to the stakeholders so they can just kind of see where exactly their money was going. And again, it was just sort of like a review thing. And I did publish a couple with the ADN, which is the Anchorage Daily News, as well as the Sundials, which is a news, like a newspaper in Spanish for Latin American. And it was the basis of, I did like one on fentanyl, just understanding the fentanyl crisis here in Alaska, because we had several kids actually be lost to fentanyl overdose, and we want to bring awareness to that. I also did several reviews of different work I was doing at Alaska Children's Trust, and those articles were again just given to stakeholders. And so though essentially it wasn't published in any world-renowned journal or anything, it was mostly just trying to see the nitty-gritty of where exactly our money was going in Alaska and how we can better disperse those different grant portals.
Like, say, like the fentanyl crisis. I mean, you are working with the Public Health Administration. That is what public health is for. To with all of these extracurriculars, whether it's Keys to the Future, or you're being a NHS national finalist, or your work with YANA and YAHA, you were named 2025 Coca-Cola Scholar. So how was that process? First applying to Coke, and then going down to the World of Coke in Atlanta, Georgia, and not only meeting 149 like-minded people, but being added to a crazy network of people.
Yeah, I think the experience, getting down there, I was just shocked by how normal all the kids there were. You think of all these kids, like, you're so scared, and I think we could all say the same thing. We're scared going there because you hear about like all the different things they've done, and you're like, these kids are crazy, and you just didn't think that any kid could be doing this and be living a normal life. And you get down there, and we're doing TikToks, we're still like using Gen Z slang, and we're just like acting like normal teenagers, like we're at like a party or something. And then you have the actual moments where you're able to sit down, and then you see like our valve switch a little bit, where we go from like joking around, being funny, and being like, oh, we're just normal kids. And then you see everyone switch into like the professional side of them, talking about the different work they've done, talking about their nonprofits and different groups that they're a part of, the awards and accolades they've done. And then you're just like, wow, you are a youth that exactly envisions the world as I see it. And that's crazy, because you think you're so alone, and like the way you think or the way you want to live your life or exactly what you believe is important. And then you see the youth that think the same way, and it gives you a lot of reassurance that maybe everything like in our next generation and our world's going to be okay, because we have these kids out here who are thinking like you, who are envisioning the world as a more humane and more inclusive place. And it's just beautiful to see that. But like during the application of it, it was the first scholarship I looked up. I was looking for scholarships that would help me pay outright for tuition, because I'm low income and I would not have been able to go to college without any scholarships. It would not have been possible. And I've actually received a full ride. That was like crazy in itself. But now I have this money that I'll be able to use for grad school, which will be amazing, because grad school is about to get a heck of expensive. But yeah, so the application, it's very generalized in the beginning. There's 3 cycles. So you have your first one, you're doing all your volunteer work, your work experience, your grades, all of that, classes you've taken. And then they use a sort of, I guess, like, it's not AI, but it gives you like points based on what you've done and it ranks you on that. And then from there, the highest ranking individuals go on to the next round of applications. And that is 1,000 out of the 120,000 that apply. And through that, the 1,000 that are selected, you're gone through and they look at everything that you have on there. And now it's individualized. There's an actual human looking at it rather than a ranking system. And then from there, they select another 250. And from those 250, they bring you onto an interview board. So after that, you're going to be interviewed not in person, but over like Zoom. And you're going to have the actual, for me, my interview, I actually had the head of the Coca-Cola program there, Catherine something, I forget her last name, but she's like the face of the Coca-Cola Scholarship program. And so she was there. And then I also had a whole bunch of alumni. So that's something that like now as a Coca-Cola Scholar, I'll have the opportunity to do is I can become a interviewer in the future if I want. One of the guys there, he was actually from the original first class of the Coca-Cola Scholars. And so that was really cool. But yeah, they ask you some generalized questions and they can either like, you can lead the interview just explaining your life, your passions, and what you want out of your future, or they can just ask you questions. And so like they started off fun and they just asked us like, pick a random thing around you, like because some people were interviewing in their room and explain how it relates to you. And I was in a conference room in my library at school, so I didn't really have anything, but I had my card keys and I explained what it meant for freedom for like an individual and being able to kind of like take hold of your future by sort of just having those couple minutes of something you own yourself. And so that's what I had done. And then from there, they select 150 of us from the 250, and then you go on to your Coca-Cola weekend. And I actually won. There was 2 Alaskan winners this year, me and then my friend Anna Kardashian, and we were able to fly together. And it was a really cool experience because our bottlers here, the Coca-Cola bottlers, they gave us like AirPods and some swag, backpacks, like they decked us out. And so we got these like really cool zip ups and we got to like be matching on the way to the airport. And it was so funny because we had a group chat, Coca-Cola's Instagram group chat, where we were starting to add everyone, find their Instagram handles, add them all in there. And in the group chat, when we were having a layover in, I think, Houston, there was someone saying like, bro, I'm about to miss my flight. And he's like, I'm running through the airport. I can't find my gate. And then we look up because we hear someone going like panting. And then it's the same guy from the group chat. And we're like, hey, it's you. And so that was pretty cool because we ran into another Coca-Cola person. He was on our flight and he was in the row right behind us too on the flight. So we took like a photo and we're slowly finding them on our way to Atlanta. He was like the first like cool guy we met of a Coca-Cola scholar. And yeah, he is going to Harvard now and he's written a couple articles for them and we're really proud of him. And it was just really cool to like have those experiences where you realize that now there's going to be a community everywhere you go of Coca-Cola scholars. So it was a great weekend, a great experience, and definitely some memories I'll never forget.
So I completed all that, and then I started getting DMs and stuff, which was still a big shocker to me to this day, that I have been able to sit down with, I believe, like 1/5 of the Coca-Cola batch this year and speak to them. I'm still super grateful and just shocked and all that too, because I was expecting 1 or 2, but I was like going into it, and for each and every single one, including yourself, I personally do believe Coca-Cola did make a good decision when it came to distinguishing the NPCs from the real people. Because yes, everyone can be cracked and everyone can have a crazy, resume with it.
Yeah.
You need to have a life too. Like people are so human. We're so human at the end of the day. So I really personally do believe that Coca-Cola did make, with the distinguishment between who is just doing it for like straight up only grind, study, and repeat, and who actually has a life but cares about what they're doing too. And I can see that through each and every single one of you, and I haven't had a single bad. Super grateful for each and every single one of you. And another thing that a lot of people have told me, while interviewing is they've also had imposter syndrome too. Like that is one word that has been said in almost every single interview that I've done. And to that I say, y'all were all selected for a reason. I mean, you've done so much work throughout Alaska.
Thank you.
And, you've been recognized for a good reason. And that's just how a student leader is supposed to be, And, being humble about it too shows through that imposter syndrome, because some people can be like, oh, yeah, I've done so much. And, this is just something light for me, just another step, But, that imposter syndrome, because everyone has done so much. So I personally do not think that y'all should take that for granted too and think, oh, I'm below someone else. This is not a ranking system. Y'all are still doing great stuff at the end of the day. Y'all were selected for a good reason. But at the end of the day, why do you personally believe you were named a Coca-Cola Scholar?
I think they were just looking for someone who was looking for more than just the accolades, who was truly just trying to find what way they can make a difference on just one person's life. And that's always been my sort of thing is I don't really care how many people I impact or exactly how many rural communities I reach or anything like that. It's just truly if I can change one person's perspective or change one person's day, then that will make me feel like I truly live my life how I should. It took a while for me to realize that it doesn't really I don't really care how much money I make or exactly where I end up in life, as long as on my last day on this planet I can say that I helped bring happiness to the world, then I'll be I'll feel like that I did enough. I think I had mentioned that a couple times just in my wording of what I really wanted out of what I was doing for my community and my future. And I think that truly connected with the interviewers. And I think that's maybe why they chose me. But I don't know if there's any prerequisites of you have to have this amount of APs or this thing. But I mean, just focus on the getting out of education what you want out of it. And if you feel like it's not enough, do more. And if you feel like it's too much, take a step back. And that's truly what I felt I needed. And my story may have been a little different than someone else's, but school was my hope. And it allowed me to feel like I was having validation for maybe things I wasn't getting validated for in my other parts of life. And so that gave me that push I needed for academics. And, in terms of community, I found those people, those adult mentors who wanted to see me grow. And by having those great adult mentors, it allowed me to do everything else. So I think you just got to find your people. And, that's all we can really do is just try the best we can to find what's out there and just become more than your circumstances.
I mean, that actually leads in perfectly for my last question. Yeah, usually the Voice Tree podcast, it is about empowering the leaders of today and tomorrow. That is the tagline for the whole thing. And as a student leader yourself, I know you just did mention a lot, but is there any extra, advice that you have for either for me, the audience members, or anybody in general trying to be a leader in their own community or trying to make a difference in the world themselves?
I think, like I was saying before, there's so many people out there that want to see you succeed. And it does not matter if it's one person or 20 or 1,000 that you're, making a difference for, but kindness is the legacy that's going to be worth leaving. And so take everything you can out of every experience that comes your way. Don't be afraid to say yes to something that's scary, and don't be afraid to try everything, because you never know what's going to be right for you. And you'll never know where the future will take you. I didn't think I'd be where I am today, and I never in a million years would think that I'd be going to, an Ivy, about to be exactly where I always wished I would be. And, anything's going to be possible, and it may be cliche, but it's so true, because I'm about to leave here in a couple weeks to go to an amazing school, and I've had the craziest year of my life, being able to sort of be recognized for everything that I've been trying to do. And, I hope that future is coming for someone else, because no matter what sort of pain or, experiences you've been through, there's an amazing world out there ready if you just take hold of it and see what it has to offer.
Some amazing words said. I definitely agree with you there. Try everything possible, because you never know when you're really going to be passionate and any field or anything, even if you think it's just a joke, it could turn out to be something that you do for the rest of your life just because you enjoy it. And if you're truly passionate about what you're doing, then it's less of work and not play, but life goes on easier and everything, just gets easier for you. So I 100% get what you're saying there. But once again, Natalie, thank you so much for joining the Voice for You podcast today. It truly does mean personally a lot for me that you did take a shot on me and, joined and spread your words of wisdom. So once again, thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And to the viewers at home, thank you so much for watching till the very end. Remember to follow the Voice for You podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and stream our episodes wherever you find your music or stream your podcast, whether it's Spotify, Amazon Music, or Apple Music. Once again, I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us on today's episode, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.